Okay, welcome. So today I wanted to look at the film Home Alone and look at it like a study of child development and the difference between the US and the UK. And I'm just going to draw upon a few different scenes from the movie and just looking at how we differ here in the UK and linking that into boarding school and the boarding school education. So enjoy. Okay, so it's Christmas at the moment, at the time of recording this, and the Christmas movies are on. So I watched Home Alone the last couple of days. And for those of you who haven't seen it, it's a boy who is left alone for a couple of days over Christmas time, Macaulay Culkin. And I've watched it quite a few times. It came out in the 90s, so I watched it when I was a child. But I've never really looked at it through the lens of child development and especially boarding school. And I'm just gonna, as I was watching it, I'm like, oh my God, this is fascinating. And so I decided to make some notes and draw upon a few different books as a psychology, a practical guide to child psychology, understand your kids and enjoy parenting, but also trauma, abandonment, and privilege, Nick Duffell's work there, and also Joy Schaverien boarding school syndrome, to just get that sense. So essentially the first thing I noticed was at the beginning of the film, it's like he doesn't know the basics. And what's fascinating, he's 8 years old. Why this is fascinating is because in the UK, 8 is often the age that children are sent to boarding school. It's less so now. There's only a small percentage. It's now 11 or 13. But many of our leaders have been to boarding schools from the age of 7 or 8. So it's really fascinating to see Macaulay Culkin. His character is 8 years old. And he says, I just don't know the basics. He doesn't know how to cook, doesn't know how to shop, doesn't know how to wash. He doesn't know how to tie his shoelaces. He doesn't know how to pack his own bag. And he's like, oh, what do I do? How do I pack my bag? And what Joy Schaverien says is it's the latency phase. And it's very different from the adolescent phase, which is 13, what we call public schools, where people go from 13. And why I think this is really interesting is, he's seen as the unmade child, which Nick Duffell talks about. It's almost like there's something wrong. But, he's going to spend the next couple of years learning some of these things in a nice gradual process. He's going to model from other people. What happens in UK, in these elite schools, is that you get to age 8, you get to the school, and immediately you have to drop that unmade child. You have to seem like you know how to tie your shoelace. You seem that you know how to cook. You need to seem like you can do all of these things, because if you don't, you get bullied. So I just thought that was a really fascinating, and you can just see, oh yeah, at that age, we really are kind of totally dependent on our mothers and our fathers. And yet that's the age that we've often sent children to boarding school. And it's like, wow, incredible. So the second thing is, in that first 5-10 minutes, he's taught by his siblings that strangers are dangerous. And the next door neighbor, they tell stories about how he's evil. And there's a scene where his parents have gone, but he's in a shop and he sees this neighbor and he just, whoa, really gets really frightened and runs off. And I think I was taught that as well as a 7-8-year-old. That's, don't talk to strangers. I remember one time there was a bus driver, coach driver. He just said to me, excuse me, can you give me a hand? And I'm like, oh my God, he's a stranger. And I ran away terrified. So I could really relate to that. And why this really is interesting from the British perspective is, with, children are told strangers are dangerous. And yet boarding school, you send your children to basically to spend 9 months of the year with strangers. And you say, so the child's being told, it's just this confusion. Wait a minute, I'm being told that strangers are dangerous, and yet you're sending me to be with strangers and told me it's a good thing, but you've told me it's a bad thing. So it's like, it's just confusion for us as children. So I think that's the second thing from there. The third thing I noticed was just the mother's reaction on the plane. And obviously this is a movie, but you can see this in nature. You can see this with animals. When a sheep is separated from her lamb, she will bleat and bleat, especially those first few months, until the lamb comes back. And as they get older, bigger, there's less of that attachment, but it's still there. And in the film, the mother's reaction, she's saying, "Oh, I'm a terrible mother, I've forgotten my child." And later on, she's making a journey from, I can't remember, but back to Chicago. And she's saying, "I'm a bad parent." And it's like this idea that she's left her child. And at that point, she's left the child for about a day or two. And Nick talks about this a little bit in Trauma, Abandonment and Privilege. This idea that, and Joy, maybe I'll read a little bit of Joy here. She just says here, women as mothers. "If I was so precious, why did she then part with me? This tragic question remains in the air. Why did mothers let their young children go sometimes hundreds of miles away, even across continents? We have read stories of mothers who told their children they did not want to lose them, and yet they let them go. The answer to this question lies to some extent in patriarchy and the power relations between men and women. Some mothers to whom I have spoken missed their children deeply, but they felt helpless. They truly considered that, given their situation, this was in the best interests of their children. There is little doubt that for some it was. There are women who, distraught at losing their children, turn to alcohol to ameliorate the pain of their loss. However, there were also women who were relieved to delegate childcare." So I think that's kind of really interesting. I feel the difference between, the US is like, okay, yes, they send children to boarding schools 14, 16. I'm reading Paris Hilton's biography at the moment, autobiography, and it's like horrific what she was sent to age 16. And yet we're talking age 8, her response. And it's just really, really interesting. And it's just this different perspective. And I'll read Trauma, Abandonment and Privilege, Nick Duffell and Thurston Bassett. Just this quote from The Making of Them. "I fell into this is a mother who sent one of her 8-year-old boys to boarding school. In the film The Making of Them, you can watch the film. "I fell into conversation with a Frenchman I sat next to last night at dinner, and I couldn't resist getting on to education, because the French have such different views on education. They cannot understand how we can possibly do what we do, how we can bear to send our children away. They should be coming in to us every night, talking to us every night, how we mustn't lose touch with them, and how vital it is to see them every day. I totally disagree. I think it's the making of them, this sending them away. And I can see what happens. I can see them every 3 weeks. It's not a drama, really." And so this disconnect, the difference between US, this idea that, oh my God, I'm a terrible mother, she's left him at home for 2-3 days. And yet, as a culture in Britain, we send our children to boarding school for 9 months of the year. So, and Nick talks about that. Is there some unprocessed feeling that mothers have in Britain that we just don't access? So, and the response for the mother is that in the film, she says, "I've got to get back to him immediately." She sleeps in the airport. She sells things in order to get home to her son. And yet, in the UK, it's in the upper classes. It's like it's a privilege. So the next thing from here is Kevin, Macaulay Culkin, he wants to be free of his family. But after a couple of days, he suddenly realizes he misses them, wants them back. And I can really relate, because it was the same with me. Age 11, I'm like, yeah, I want to be away from my family, especially my father, who I struggled with. But then after 3 weeks, it was like, actually, I want to be back with them. But for me, I never returned home. Whereas Kevin got his family back, the next day. And so it's that rupture and then the repair. And that's played out really beautifully at the end, where mum comes home, Kevin's there, and you would have thought that they just embrace. But she says that mother is stood there and Kevin's kind of hesitant. I think it's played beautifully. And the mother says, her words are, "Kevin, I'm so sorry." And he stands there for a little while. And then he moves in. He's forgiven her. This rupture and repair. But in Britain, in boarding schools, there is that rupture. But the mothers are told, well, it's really good for them. So they never apologize. And therefore, there's no repair. And I can see that. And that was something I saw, which triggered another thing. It was on Christmas evening, he's walking from the church past these houses where people are meeting. He's seeing everyone as a family, and he's outside. And that's what happens for me as a boarding school child. You never return home. As Joy Schaverien says, the child is effectively homeless, no longer fully belonging at home nor at school. And so I really could see that the repair never happened, so we never return home. And I just thought that was really beautiful there. And I think the final bit I'd just add in, I recommend watching it just to have a look at the psychology. It's like, wow, this is fascinating. Here's an 8-year-old boy who's, very young, and then, yeah, what it's like, that rupture, how scared he is. And the final piece is at the end. They come home, all the family's there, and he says, "Oh, I've been shopping. I've done washing." And they're like, "What? You've been shopping?" But what he doesn't mention is what actually happened. About the robbers coming in and trying to steal everything and him protecting the place. He doesn't say that. And this is very kind of key for me as an ex-boarder who goes through this big event away at boarding school. When you come home, it's like you don't speak to your families because, one, you don't feel they'll really understand. And if you do, often they won't believe you. What do you mean? If he said that in the film, it's like, oh, I had these robbers come, then they wouldn't believe him. Because we generally don't believe children. This is what's happened over generations in Britain and globally. Boarding school is that we don't believe the children. We think they're lying. But actually, what comes out years later is, no, they were telling the truth. There were paedophiles in these schools. There was these problems and that. And I thought that was another fascinating aspect, that often as children, for whatever reason, we don't share. We don't have the words. Joy Schaverien says that we don't have the words to explain. So yeah, just some thoughts. I just find this fascinating, and I think I'll finish by reading something from here. It's Erik Erikson, American developmental psychologist. He says, "It is human to have a long childhood. It is civilized to have an even longer childhood." And I just think I see that Britain, age 8, 11, 13, it's like, well, it's good for you. We're going to cut your childhood off. And it's like, yeah, this is not right. In my 16 onwards, yeah, boarding school, if it's a heart-centered place, but not younger than that. So yeah, big thank you to everyone who's watched my videos over the last year. Thank you so much for your support. Yeah, it's not been an easy year for me personally, with the death of my wife, and then the documentary Boarding on Insanity coming out. But I couldn't have done this without your support, so bless you all, and I wish you really lovely Christmas period, and I hope you're finding these videos useful. And yeah, wishing you a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Take care. Bye for now.